Hi everyone, I'm Rhonda with the Stitch and Time Embroidery Designs, and today we're going to do a quick little class on freestanding lace, and we're going to stitch out these cute little tiny turkey earrings. That's what Jonathan called them when he digitized them. I'm wearing them today so you can see how cute they are. They're just a perfect tiny little size, so that's what we're calling them, tiny turkey earrings. They do fit, of course, in a small hoop. I'm going to be using a 4x4 hoop today. We're going to be using the mesh type water soluble stabilizer, some T-pins in the edges. So let me show you what I do to get ready to get my hoop ready to stitch freestanding lace. So let's switch over to my temporary cutting table. Okay, to start, we are going to hoop 2 layers of this mesh type water-soluble stabilizer. It kind of looks like a thin fabric. I have a large roll here because we use a lot of it for freestanding lace, but you can get it in much smaller rolls. I just wanted to bring to your attention that this stuff, which is actually a water-soluble topper, does not normally work with any freestanding lace designs. It's much too thin. It's actually a topper, like I said. Some people refer to it as a stabilizer, a water-soluble stabilizer, but it's not. It is meant to go on top of towels or fabrics that might have a rough surface or a nap, so that to prevent the stitches from sinking down into the fabric or the pile of the towel or whatever. It is water soluble, but it is a topper and not a stabilizer. There is another stabilizer that is clear like this one that's called Badge Master, and it's much, much thicker than this is. You can also use that for lace, but we do prefer the one that looks kind of like a fabric. So the earrings are small. They fit in the little 4x4 hoop. So I have cut 2 pieces of the water-soluble stabilizer. And we're going to hoop that in this 4x4 hoop. And I had already preset my hoop screw down here to make it tight enough, so it's plenty tight enough. Make sure it's nice and really tight. And I'll show you something that I do with in the hoop designs and freestanding lace designs. And it's not that important on a small hoop like this, but it definitely is when you're using a larger hoop, is that I use these 2-inch T-pins in the edges of the hoop. And what that does is it ensures that the stabilizer is going to be nice and tight in your hoop, and it's not going to become loose in the hoop. It kind of holds it in the edge right there. So we'll put that in a couple of these edges, and like I said, it's not as important on this tiny hoop, but when you have a larger hoop that has longer edges like this, those are the places that stabilizer can become loose in the hoop, especially if you have a really dense design that's pulling on the stabilizer a lot. This helps tremendously. So I just have kind of made it a habit, over time, and I do use it in all my designs for freestanding lace and in the hoop where you're just hooping stabilizer. All right, so for best results with freestanding lace, you want to use the smallest hoop possible because it's going to have less risk for any movement in the hoop. And freestanding lace, it stitches out a foundation for the design to go on top of. And if any of the layers move, then it might not stay. The stitches might not stay where they were intended to stay, and you'll end up with loose stitching or threads that hang off somewhere where they're not supposed to be hanging off. So you'll notice that in some of your stitching when you're doing freestanding lace. If you see the design doesn't come out quite like it should have, then you'll know that something shifted. Most likely in the stabilizer when you are embroidering it, and that's why we suggest that you use the smallest hoop that you can. What I'm going to suggest is using 7511 needles, winding a bobbin with the same color embroidery thread that you'll use in the design. Like we're going to use this pretty brown. I have bobbins wound with the brown and the orange and the yellow that I'll be using in this design. I have 7511 needle in there. We're going to stitch at a slower speed. We're going to stitch at 600 stitches per minute. And also, if the design has one color, and obviously I can fit more than one pair of earrings in this hoop. I could fit probably 2 safely, maybe 3. What I would want to do is stitch out them completely, like stitch out this pair completely and then stitch out this pair. If you color sort freestanding lace designs, you may have issues where, say you stitch all the first color, in this case that's this outside orange right here. If you stitch orange, 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 you're going to have more risk for movement of the stabilizer. So when it goes to stitch the second color, which is this yellow, maybe some of this has been pulled over and moved a little bit, and it might not stitch exactly where it was supposed to stitch. You can try, but sometimes, especially if you have a larger hoop and you have a lot of earrings in it or ornaments or whatever you're stitching freestanding lace, and you do that, a lot of times all of them won't come out perfectly. You're going to have loose threads on some of them or others. So I kind of prefer just to stitch out the entire thing and then move to the next one in the hoop. Stitch out the entire thing. That way you're almost promised that every one of them is going to be okay as it stitches out. So we'll talk a little bit more about that while we're stitching. So let's go bring this to the machine and we'll get started stitching. Okay, so we're going to put this on the machine, but I want to show you guys first that I have a bobbin in here. The orange color stitches first on the outside of the little turkeys. So I wound a bobbin with the same 40 weight thread that I have on top of the machine. And I'm just going to stitch out one set of turkey earrings here. But if I wanted to stitch out 2 sets, I could move them over a little bit. And let me show you really quick what this machine does. This is a Brother Luminaire XP3, and it has a projector mode where it's going to show on the stabilizer where this will stitch. So I know it kind of gives this rainbow effect when you're making a video, but it doesn't look like that in person. It's just white right there. But I can move this design over and see exactly where it's going to stitch out. So I can move it over far enough that I know that I could stitch out another pair in the hoop right here with no problem. So let's just let it stitch out right there. It's fine right there. We know it's going to fit, and we're going to go ahead and stitch out the outside, the very outside of the little circle of wings or whatever that's supposed to be behind that little turkey. My son Jonathan digitized this design, and he does it all manually from scratch. He even likes to do his own underlay in freestanding lace designs because he says he has more control over it, and he can make it to where none of it is going to pop out, where it shows and it shouldn't show. It's less likely to do that. Anyway, I don't know how to do all that, but he's figured it out, and he does pretty well with his freestanding lace designs. Maybe if I have a minute towards the end, I'll show you a few other designs he has created in freestanding lace. But this design, I am stitching it out at 600 stitches per minute, like I mentioned earlier. The machine says it's going to take 8 minutes to stitch out, which is great. This one does have several color changes, so we will be changing colors and the bobbin as we go. And I'm also, hopefully I'll remember, each time I have to change the bobbin, I'm going to clip the tie-in and tie-off threads off of the back. I already have to take the hoop off of the machine anyway to change the bobbin. So I just assume clean up the back as it goes, you know, and keep it nice and neat back there. So it is going to stitch one earring the first color, and then the second earring the first color. Sometimes when you're stitching out our earrings, you'll see that Jonathan has placed them horizontally side by side. And sometimes he places them vertically side by side. And the reason he does that is it just depends on how the design is digitized and what it is. He places them one way or the other to create less pull on each other. So if he thinks they're going to pull together and move the stabilizer a little bit, being side by side versus one over the other like you see them stitching now, he puts them in a way that he thinks they're going to stitch out the very best and have the least amount of pull on the stabilizer. So we're using new needles, like I mentioned. 7511 embroidery needle is what I have in there. Honestly, I can't even remember too many times in the last 25 years where I've used a different size needle for embroidery. I pretty much always use 7511. I'm not even sure I have different size needles in here anymore. 600 stitches per minute for sure. And also, if you have, I know we talked about that a minute ago too, but if you have, just to remind you, if you have more than one color in a freestanding lace design and you want to stitch more than one in a hoop, I would suggest just stitching out that design in full before you move to the next one in the hoop, with the exception of earrings like this, where it's going to stitch both earrings like that. Because you do want to have as little pull on this design as possible in the hoop. Okay, so let's clip these little threads sticking up from the tie-in and tie-outs. It'll help keep the back really neat as we're going along, so we'll just trim them in between each color. Like I said, we have to take off the hoop anyway. And the next color is yellow. I'm using some pretty bright colors here. I'm kind of a bright color person. They're my favorites. And we'll put the next color in there and switch it out. I have a big cone holder on top of this machine because we use mostly big cones of thread here at a stitching time. All right, let's let that second color. Each color just takes 1-2 minutes each to stitch, so each color change is pretty quick. Sometimes it's interesting just to watch how he's digitized these things to make them stay together as they're stitching. And the yellow has like longer stitches than the orange does, and then the brown is actually going to kind of lay on top of the yellow a little bit, and those teeny tiny little feet are going to stitch out with this yellow. And when he first showed me this design, I couldn't even believe those feet stayed together. They are so tiny. Let me see, while that's stitching, maybe I could stick one of these in front of the camera. I don't know if you'll be able to see it or not, if the lighting won't catch it. Look how tiny those little feet are on there. Can you guys see that? They're so little, and they stay together perfectly. Okay, so yeah, we talked about color sorting. Not my favorite thing to do with freestanding lace. I would prefer to spend more time stitching each design out individually and know that every single one is going to come out perfect than to color sort these things and have 10 in a big hoop and only have 6 of them work because the other ones are they have loose threads hanging off. The stabilizer didn't stay where it was supposed to for some of them. So it's, you're just kind of taking a chance that you're going to waste time and stabilizer if you do it the other way. So I kind of prefer to do it the safe way from the get-go. And that way I know I'm going to have all my designs stitch out just fine. All right, so we trim that one too. And the next color is brown, the little turkey. I've chosen like a lighter brown because it's gonna, you know, it has the eyes and the beak and the little snood that's right next to a turkey's beak on there. So I chose this kind of lighter color brown so that you could see the other stuff really well on it. You know, when I started this business way, you know, back in the late 1990s, they didn't have the automatic threader on machines. And goodness, that's how I think that's how I ended up wearing glasses. I didn't wear glasses when I first started this business, but after a few years in it of threading needles all the time, it can be a little hard on your eyes. Okay, so after the brown, the eyes are going to stitch the beak and the little snood. And honestly, those last three colors are, you know, just a few stitches each. If you want to skip changing the thread colors, you can. Maybe we'll do that for this part. Just leave the brown in there because it's just a few little stitches on top of the beak and the eyes. And the snood right there. So let's just skip changing that. The back of the turkey is not going to be as pretty as the front because you have tiny little details that you can't help but having tie-in and tie-offs back there. So there's going to be knots in the back. Anyway, the back is not going to look identical to the front. If you're doing a freestanding lace design, if you're stitching one out that has just one color, then the back and the front can look identical because, you know, sometimes you can't even tell the back from the front if it's a one color freestanding lace design. But when it has a few different colors in it and they're just really tiny, you're gonna have tie-in and tie-outs on the back. That's a given. Let me see if I can scoot it a little bit and let you see it up closer. There we go. Don't you just love those bright colors? These really don't take long, and I think that they're going to make really cute gifts for Thanksgiving. People don't expect gifts for Thanksgiving, but one thing I do like to do this time of the year during, you know, November and December is to stitch out things. Freestanding lace is perfect for this. Stitch out things that are small enough that I can keep in my purse, and when I'm out and about, post office, grocery store, hardware store, wherever, sewing store, that I always have 2 or 3 things like this that I can hand out to people and just give to them. Sometimes when you hand people a gift and they don't expect it, it's just fun. It's just a fun thing to do. All right, I am not going to change the bobbin thread just to save some time here. And we'll go ahead and stitch the last 3 colors. Might even make the back look neater. I'm not sure. We'll find out. I am just trimming this because that threader doesn't always work perfectly. Anyway, I always package things like earrings, or Jonathan, we have some freestanding lace tarantulas, we have freestanding lace angels, we have lots of things that you can fit in your purse and just gift to people this time of year. So it's kind of fun. So see how quickly the eye's stitched? Just little dots. And then we have the beak, which is going to be, where's my yellow? Yes, here it is. I'll do a video maybe next week. Maybe that'll be next week's video. We'll do the Christmas angel. And I'll show you guys how I package them to give away. And the water. As soon as we're finished this, we're going to trim the excess stabilizer away. And I'm going to get a bowl of warm water so that I can have it on camera here in my sewing room. But what I normally do with this, and I'll grab it and show you, is I use a kitchen strainer and put these in the bottom of it, and I run them under warm water. And that's how I rinse out my freestanding lace. In this video, we're gonna just put them in a bowl of warm water and then pat them dry, but that's not normally how we do it here. And we do like to wash out all of the stabilizer. I don't like to touch them and they're sticky. And they're digitized so well that they're going to stay together. You don't have to worry about washing out all that stabilizer and thinking it's not going to stay together. It will stay together. If you've stitched it out and it looks fine and everything is in place where it's supposed to be and the stabilizer did not shift, it's going to stay together. All right, let's take a peek. See how cute these are. And let's go back to the cutting table and we'll show you how to finish them off. Okay, so we have it off of the machine and we're going to remove our T-pins. And yes, I probably could have stitched another pair right there, but for the sake of just making a video, we did not. Okay, so we're going to cut as close as we can without cutting our little turkeys. Okay, and then I have this bowl of, well, I kind of made it hot, but warm water's fine, hot is fine, whatever you want. It's going to make the stabilizer melt away faster. And like I said, normally I would grab a kitchen strainer and just put this in the bottom of the strainer and hold it under running water in the faucet, under warm running water. It's going to melt away really quickly when I do that. And before I do that, because it's easier to do it now, and normally I forgot, but I usually do this while it's still in the hoop and the stabilizer's still nice and tight. It's kind of easier to trim it away when you when it's still in the hoop, to trim away all these little tie-ins and tie-outs to neaten up the back. There's a tie-in and tie-out for each color that we just stitched, for the eye and the beak and the snood. We'll just trim them up. There, that got all that out. It's easier to do before you throw it in the water. So you just put it in the water. See how fast that melts away in this warm water. I'm just going to swoosh them around a bit. That's why I like to run them under running water, is because, wait, I'm going to try to do this with my right hand. I am left-handed, so I'll put the camera on the wrong side. But running them under the faucet rinses it all out. Doesn't leave any sticky residue or anything, which is why we like to do it there. You're not going to have, you know, stuff left between its cute little feet right here. and then just put them on a towel. I don't leave them to dry on the towel because if by any chance you left some of the stabilizer in here and they're sticky, they're going to kind of stick to that towel. So what we do when we dry them off, especially for bigger designs, you'll notice that a freestanding lace design, when you wet it like that, it tends to curl to the front. So especially with larger designs, if you turn them upside down to dry, that helps somewhat with that. Turn them upside down and then press them flat. Leave them on a flat surface. This cutting table is just fine to leave them dry like that on. They're not going to take that long to dry. You know, they're small little turkeys right there. So let me show you to put ear wires on. I'll just grab this other pair that I stitched the other day because they are dry. I do suggest that you wait until things are dry before you put ear wires or mess with freestanding lace. The best thing to do is let it dry all the way. See how tiny those little rings are right there that it goes in? You want all that to be nice and dry. Oops, it's just not focusing on that. But you guys see how tiny that little ring is. And see how perfectly that's stitched out? There's no threads on the inside of it. It's stitched out great. And so did these teeny tiny little feet. I'm not sure if this will focus up this close or not. Maybe not. There we go. See how tiny the little feet are? And look at the ring. It doesn't have any thread on the inside of it. It's stitched nice and clean. Okay, so I get these sterling silver ear wires off of Amazon. And you just need a little jewelry tool. We're just going to open them up. You know it's harder doing things on camera, you guys. Open them up. And then make sure you put the front side facing the front of the earring there. And so you just put them on. Turn this back because I actually turned it out a little bit. Just make sure it's straight and close it back up to where it's touching this part of the wire here so that it doesn't fall off. And there you have a cute little earring all ready to go to gift to someone. And these are just adorable. They really are. And you can get cards to put them on Amazon. I had a stamp made. We don't really sell these. I mostly give them away. I probably should sell some, as many as I stitch to just give away. But I had these cards made. These cards I got off Amazon, and they're just plain. When you get them, they're just plain. I had a stamp made that says a Stitch Time Designs and our website address on it. And I also put this in a little plastic bag, and I have a note that I stick in the plastic bag that says we sell the embroidery design itself and not the finished earrings. Just enjoy this gift from a Stitch in Time that I hand, because everybody always asks me, oh, I want to buy, you know, some more like that. Where can I find them? That's the first question they ask. That's why I'm saying I probably should sell them, because I stitch out a lot of them to gift, just to give away this time of the year. So anyway, those are our little tiny turkey earrings. These are drying, so as soon as they're dry, I'll put some ear wires on those. I've tried them with different shades of orange on them. I think this one has a little bit darker orange than the one I did today in the middle. You'll see it has a really bright orange, and then these have a more muted orange. So I messed with the colors a little bit. These happen to be some of my favorite colors, yellow and orange. So I hope you enjoyed the video. You can go on our website. I will put the link for these earrings at the bottom. And we have lots of other earrings. We just finished these the other day. These are pumpkin spice earrings, pumpkin spice latte earrings. I think they're really cute. I just read a comment somebody asked to do hot chocolate ones, so I guess I'll get Jonathan to do some more cups with snowflakes on them instead. So we have a hot chocolate earring too. All right, so they're all finished. Hope you enjoyed this. All right, thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed our Tiny Turkey earring class. You can stitch some up for your friends and relatives. I'm sure they would be thrilled. And I look forward to seeing you and chatting with you guys in more classes in the very near future. And if you want to be notified of when another one goes up, just click subscribe below. Subscribe to our channel, and each time we add a new video, you will be notified. Hope to see you soon. Bye.